What the heck shall we do with this? This drives me crazy. Completely drives me crazy. I have problems in my brain. Let's try Lumberjack Plaid Spray Stain. Even if I'm assuming that this now turns pink-ish because of the texture paste. This is not pink, but with the white texture paste it could perhaps happen that it turns pink. I think that this is totally the wrong color. Yeah, doesn't work at all. In the camera it looks even more terrible than in reality. I don't have the right red. If I use Lumberjack Plaid paint now, this will turn out way too pink. And I guess if I use Candied Apple or Festive Berries or a mixture of that, I will have the same problem. This is Lumberjack Plaid paint. Looks a little weird. It had an accident while it was shipped to me. I've also taken out some aged mahogany paint, hoping that it gets a little more dirty with that. But I guess that is, yeah, no. Okay, I will try it. I will paint over this, dry it, and then see how it looks. I think in the context it's okay. But I also want ink around the edges. Perhaps I should do it with this brush to get a little bit to the pattern as well. Why is this now, oh my goodness, why is this now so extreme? You will now think that I am completely crazy, but I think you already think that, so no difference at all. Yeah, okay, that's the solution, thank you. That looks way better, doesn't it? Oh, sometimes it's just worth to struggle. Trust the process, trust the process. This is on here, worked relatively good. It's not completely flat here in the inside. Here it's a little bit puffy, but I think that is okay for me. But here I'm just trying to get it off again. Look, can you see that? Somehow while I was sewing, this got like a ruffle. I have no idea why. I don't know what I did wrong, but now I'm trying to get this off again to be able to try to sew it on again. And I'm hoping that I can get it off without destroying the material. I'm pretty close to crying. I have sewn the buttons on here by hand so that the sewing is not visible, or these knots are not visible. And I have absolutely no idea what happened here. Obviously my sewing machine didn't transport this material so well. Oh my goodness, and I have the feeling, oh, I want to cry. I have the feeling that I can't get it off without destroying it. Another possibility would be to just leave it like it is. And don't sew over it. Just leave it. Is that a solution? I mean, then I would have this little problem here, but this would be totally okay. If I sew over here, then this problem could get even bigger. But if I would leave it just like so, I think I can live with that. I feel really weird, but that is the solution. I will save this piece and the other one I have, that's still laying on my sewing machine, for something else. It drives me crazy. Oh my goodness. Okay. So here we have the situation. That is good. Where are my strings? So we can't use them all, because that would be probably too much. So let's first take them apart and decide how many we want to use to make this wreath. I guess you need to be a professional guitar player to do something like this. Because when I have taken these out from the package, where which Sasha has used to send them to me, they were like, you know, in a perfect wreath somehow. But I also want to make sure, of course, that you can't hurt yourself while touching this.
Tearing paper, making mess, create chaos, I confess. I wanna freak my freak right now. Junk journal madness, holy cow.
Shall we just sew that on with a white embroidery thread? I think that is the best way to do that. Before I attach this, I want to take some bouquet flowers. These are the Ideology bouquet flowers, because I want to include some of those here somehow, instead of stamping around this thing. Here I made these like floral botanical elements by stamping, and then I've painted some of these areas a little more white, because the stamping also came out a little translucent, as you can see. I like it here, but here I want to do it a little different. I'm just trying to decide if I want to paint these black or if I want to leave them white. Since I can't decide that without seeing them in black, I will take some of these and take some of my black acrylic paint so that they get really, really, really black. It would be probably easier to spray them, but I don't have a black spray. I'm thinking I want to try to use perhaps these, or at least one, to attach the label, but I want to have a connection. So this is built from, obviously, yeah, I think a die cut, or perhaps this was made with a punch, and this little brad. And I'm thinking, can I perhaps add an additional layer with the help of this by carefully taking this little piece out. Is that then too much? It's probably a little bit too big. It has, oh no, it has nearly the same size like the other flower. Yeah, but it's still visible, look. I think I like that. think I need my crocodile to do that. Yeah, I think I want to try to set an eyelid here to make sure that this will stay there forever. And I'm just thinking it would make sense to set the eyelid from the inside, because here, this ugly side, it's not visible later. So, because the label is covering that up. So let's then determine where the second hole has to go, and then I will set an eyelid there as well. That is good. I will let it loose in here so that I can later on take it out and write a title here. And I guess once I have written the title, I will then glue this whole thing, the paper and this metal label, to the journal, because then it's on there forever. So then, what about these? The black ones are not dry yet. I will quickly dry them with my heat gun. So let's decide, black or white or a mixture. I think I really like when they are mixed. So let's perhaps do that. But how the heck can I now get these on there without any problems? Because gluing them on this material, oh my goodness. I think I will do the following thing. I'm going to take some super glue. Ooh, oh my goodness. This opens here. That is not the plan. Please open here. And then I'm going to cut them apart and glue them on separately so that the stems are really short. I don't want to see the wire here. So next we have to sew the signatures to a piece which can then later on go to the inside here, so that we get a hidden spine. A piece of fabric, and first I thought I want to also paint it black, but I changed my mind. In the other journal it's black, but I just changed my mind. I want to do something which I really enjoy doing with fabric and a stamp. Let's see. I've chosen this from Vines and Roses, CMS 298. For this technique you can just leave the stamp on the thing or stick it to your wherever you work on, you know. And you can just put the fabric on top like this. Yes, without ink. Then search for your ink pad. Take the ink pad. Hold the fabric here so that it can't move. Don't know if that is a technique that everyone's doing. I figured this out the other day, and I think it's really amazing because this is really easy to do. It dries fast, it looks nice, and you have a nice fabric within seconds. And the background stamp is good for this technique because then you could see in 2 steps I could do this without, I mean, you can see that it is here pieced together, but in the end, when this is in the journal, you will not see that anymore. You could do that, of course, with another stamp as well, but I would say, yeah, a background stamp is the best because then you don't have to wurstel around so much. Wurstel, that is a German word, which is, I don't know if that is existing in the dictionary. I have no idea. Don't know what that is in English. So let's spread some glue here. We turn this around. We take this, glue this on here. And then I will let this dry a little bit, take that to my sewing machine, and I will sew around. So I went around from the inside here, or the back, with a zigzag stitch so that I could exactly see where I need to sew. And then I can carefully tear this off here. So this is now the piece where we have to sew the signatures on. So they have to sit later on here like this. So I will poke the holes here and then I will sew the signatures on this piece. I will not go into detail about that in this video because there are a lot of videos where I show that in detail on my channel. So you can just, for example, search for hidden spine Luise Heinzl, and then you will find several videos where I show how to sew these on. But I will in this video give you a little trick when you have a material like we have here, because here in between of the layers it's hollow, and this would not be enough to, even if we use a really strong glue, to hold this really well. Because when you glue this on here, the glue would only be on this here and not on this. I mean, of course you could use so much glue that it would soak through the whole thing, but you know how to make sure that that happens and how to avoid that the glue soaks through here. Yeah, we don't want that. But there's a little trick how you could solve that problem, and I will show you that in a second. Ta-da! Thanks to video editing, this is now already done within a second, and I'm really happy how this turned out. It's always a special moment for me to flip through this, even if this is not attached to the cover yet, but that is of course what we want to do next. And for this, in this case here, I would say the following trick is really helpful. You could think, why are you putting glue on here if you go to your sewing machine in a second and glue this? Because only with the sewing, this whole thing would hold, of course, as well. But I like to put glue here additionally because that also, oh, excuse me, please, that also helps to strengthen the threads here. With the glue, the threads get glued to this black watercolor paper, and that helps to make the journal more sturdy. If you don't have a cover piece which has this problem with the layers, you can do it exactly the same, or you can of course only glue it. You could even, if that is necessary, and I do that also very often, put an additional thin layer of fabric on here now after applying the glue. Then that layer would get like one with this whole thing. In my case, that layer there, this red layer, does exactly what I just said. It gets one with this piece, and then everything in the end is nice and sturdy. So let's put this in here. Let's make sure that it sits in exactly the right position. I have a really good orientation here with the sewing I have done in the very beginning. That was also a reason why I did that, so that I now can line this up really, really exactly. Make sure to press it down really well. You can also take a bone folder, go over here, and then I like to go along here with my bone folder with in between of the signatures to make sure that this whole stuff gets really a connection to the material of the cover. And this method with the additional sewing, which I will do in a second here, of course requires a little bit of thinking before you start constructing the journal, because you of course need to make sure that the foot of your sewing machine fits in here. That is also a reason why I have chosen a distance of 1.5 centimeters in between of the signatures, because I know that the foot of my sewing machine, it is exactly 1.5 centimeters wide, so it can slide through here without problems. And then I will go to my sewing machine and I will sew in between of the signatures, and of course, or not of course, but also here, along here and along there. So here I am back. Then let's give this a little haircut. The good thing is when you do this like so, that you then get the perfect sewing here automatically, because when you put this under your sewing machine, this is this is a cable. What is this doing here? The sewing machine foot can slide through this little, this is like a, how do you call these things where the train is? Schiene? Do you know what I mean? It's like a guiding path or so, where the thing can slide through, and that is really easy, and you can do that even without sewing skills, as you can see here, because if I can do it without sewing skills, then everyone else can do it as well. And now we have this here. Now we can bring this a little bit into shape, because, you know, we want to have a round spine here, and for that we need to bring that a little bit into shape, but that also happens automatically later when you use the journal. That's my experience. So then, last but not least, we want to attach this piece here. And I do this, it's upside down, I'm sorry, and not upside down, but the back was, this is, oh my goodness, this also looks really nice with the sewing here, because it totally reminds to a guitar, doesn't it? And yeah, we want to have this here What about this? Have we already decided what to do with this? This is a little bit boring, isn't it? Let's let this hang here. I think that is good. So I will go to my sewing machine again, and I will place this here where it has to be, and then I will sew from the outside along here and here so that it is then attached here. So here we go. This is now on here. I like how this came out. That is really cool. And we can then perhaps later use this to attach some like dangles or so. I really like that. And I also like this irregular look here with the button, that there's only one button and the next one is then here. That is a little confusing for the eye, and I really like that. I'm really happy with how this turned out, even if it took me some nerves. And I just decided that I want to leave this blank for the moment. Perhaps I will decide about, yeah, changing this later. Perhaps I will decide that I want to add the pieces we've made. I can then still do that. But for now, I want to leave that. I want to leave it like it is. I really can't decide. I mean, this is nice. I really like this, but I like this as well. Probably I like this a little bit better because this reminds me to the original vest a little more than if these pieces would be on here. Perhaps you want to tell me what you like better. So that's it. I hope you could get some inspiration, and I hope we will see the next time. Bye bye.